Last year I mapped a pattern in Wisconsin. 41 cases, 17 years, moving west. This year it crossed the border. In Wisconsin we thought it was isolated. In Minnesota we realized it was organized. Minnesota has 10,000 lakes, 3 million acres of forest, and some of the harshest winters in America. It also has the highest rate of unresolved hunting and fishing disappearances in the upper Midwest. The cases are spread across counties, different jurisdictions, different sheriffs, different coroners, but when you lay them side by side, they tell the same story. People go into the North Woods, experienced people, people who know the cold, know the water, know the land, and some of them vanish. Not because they made a mistake, because something was waiting for them to arrive. The pattern that moved through Wisconsin didn't stop at the state line. It kept going, into the Superior National Forest, into the boundary waters, into places where there's no cell signal, no roads, and no one to hear you. Tonight, 5 people are talking for the first time. Hunters, fishermen, a search and rescue volunteer, a retired sheriff's deputy, and a wildlife biologist who found something in the ice that shouldn't have been there. I know why hunters disappear in Minnesota, and by the end of this video, you'll wish I didn't. He was sitting in an ice fishing shack on a frozen lake. 30 other fishermen within shouting distance. He vanished in the middle of the day. No one saw him leave. This story was shared by a man named Keith, 56 years old. Ice fished on Lake of the Woods for over 30 years. January 2023, Lake of the Woods, Minnesota's northernmost lake, right on the Canadian border. In winter, the lake freezes solid. Thousands of fishermen drive trucks onto the ice, set up shacks, and fish for days. Keith's friend Bill was one of them. Bill set up his shack on a Saturday morning, same spot he used every year, drilled his holes, set his lines, talked to the guys in the neighboring shacks around 10 a.m. At noon, Keith walked over to bring him coffee. The shack was empty. Bill's gear was there, rods set, lines in the water, heater running, coffee from the morning still warm. His coat was draped over the chair. His truck keys were on the seat. His phone was on the floor. Bill was gone. Keith looked outside. The ice around the shack was undisturbed, no footprints leading away. The snow on the surface was smooth and untouched in every direction. 30 fishermen within 300 yards. None of them saw Bill leave. Keith called the sheriff. Search teams arrived within the hour. They checked the ice. Solid. No holes except the ones Bill had drilled. No cracks. No weak spots. No way he fell through. They checked the shack. No blood. No signs of struggle. No note. They checked the surveillance footage from a resort half a mile away. The camera showed Bill's truck arriving at 7 a.m. It never left. Bill was never found. The official report said, adult male went missing on Lake of the Woods during ice fishing season, presumed to have fallen through ice despite no evidence of ice failure. Keith read that sentence 5 times. Presumed to have fallen through ice despite no evidence of ice failure. He told me, I've been on that lake for 30 years. I know what thin ice looks like. I know what a break looks like. I know what happens when someone goes through. He paused. That ice was 18 inches thick. You could drive a semi over it. He didn't fall through. He looked at me. His coat was on the chair. His keys were there. His phone was there. He didn't walk out. He didn't drive away. He didn't fall through. So where did he go? Keith still fishes, but not on Lake of the Woods, not anymore. He checks the missing person reports every January. Same lake, same season. There have been 3 more since Bill. None of them fell through the ice either. We went into the boundary waters as 4. We came out as 4. But one of us came back wrong. This story comes from a hunter named Scott, 43, from Duluth. He and 3 friends made an annual November trip into the boundary waters for grouse hunting. Canoe in camp, hunt canoe out. 4 days November 2022. They paddled in on a Monday. Set up camp on a small island in a chain of lakes. Same island they'd used for 6 years. Day 1 was fine, cold, beautiful, good hunting. Day 2, their friend Nate went out alone in the morning. Standard routine. He always hunted the north shore of the island. He came back at noon, on time. No issues. But he was different. Scott noticed it first. Nate sat by the fire and didn't talk. That wasn't unusual. Nate was quiet. But this was different. He wasn't being quiet. He was listening, head tilted, eyes scanning the tree line, like he was tracking something no one else could see. That night Nate didn't eat, not a bite. He said he wasn't hungry. The next morning he was already awake when the others got up, sitting by the dead fire, staring at the lake. "Did you guys hear it last night?" Nate asked. No one had heard anything. "Clicking," Nate said, "like teeth." From across the lake. No one else had heard clicking. Day 3, Scott noticed the smell. It came from Nate's direction, like something rotting under clean skin. Scott pulled aside their friend Marcus. "Something's wrong with Nate." Marcus had noticed too. Nate's eyes looked different, darker, the pupils too large, and he kept licking his lips, not nervously, mechanically, like his mouth was too dry, all the time. That night Scott woke up at 3 a.m. Nate's sleeping bag was empty. Scott found him at the edge of the island, standing at the waterline, staring across the dark lake. "Nate, what are you doing?" Nate didn't turn around. "It's out there," he whispered. "Across the water. I can smell it. It smells like everything I've ever wanted to eat." Scott grabbed his arm. It was cold, not cool, cold, like touching something that had been left outside for hours. "We're leaving tomorrow," Scott said. They packed up at dawn, paddled out, drove home in silence. Nate didn't speak the entire drive. 3 weeks later, Nate called Scott. It was 2 a.m. "I'm going back," he said. His voice was flat, empty. "Don't," Scott told him. "I have to. The hunger hasn't stopped. I can still smell it every night. It's getting closer." Nate went back into the boundary waters that December. Solo. No permit filed. No route plan. His canoe was found on a lakeshore 8 miles from the nearest access point. Upright. Paddle inside. Pack inside. Everything in order. No sign of Nate. The Forest Service searched for 5 days. Found nothing. Case status. Voluntary entry into wilderness area. No evidence of distress. Scott told me, "Nate didn't go in there voluntarily. Something called him back. It started the moment he walked into those woods the first time." He paused. Whatever he smelled out there, it changed him. It hollowed him out and filled him with something else, and then it pulled him back. Scott hasn't been to the boundary waters since. He still has Nate's contact in his phone. He's never deleted it. He says some nights, very late, Nate's number shows a missed call. He's never answered it. I've been on over 200 search and rescue operations. Only one made me consider quitting, not because of what we found, because of what we were told to ignore. This story comes from a search and rescue volunteer named Anne, 47, served with St. Louis County SAR for 11 years, left in 2024, February 2023. A solo deer hunter went missing in the Superior National Forest. Male, 51, experienced, filed a plan, had a GPS beacon. The beacon stopped transmitting at 4:17 p.m. on a Wednesday. Last coordinates, deep forest, no trails, no roads. Anne's team was deployed the next morning. They reached the last GPS coordinates by noon, found his camp, tent up, fire ring built but never lit, food packed neatly. His rifle was leaning against a tree, safety on, full magazine, unfired, and his boots were placed next to the tent, side by side, laces tucked in, like he'd taken them off carefully, deliberately, in 12-degree weather. Anne's team found his tracks leading away from camp, barefoot, in the snow. The barefoot tracks went north for about a quarter mile. Steady pace, even stride. No stumbling, no signs of confusion or hypothermia. Then the tracks changed. The stride lengthened, dramatically, from a normal walking pace to steps that were 8, 9, 10 feet apart. Anne measured them. The team measured them. No one said anything. A human being cannot take 10-foot steps while walking barefoot in snow. The tracks continued for another 200 yards, getting further apart with each step. 12 feet, 15 feet, 20. Then they stopped, both feet together, deep impressions, like he'd been standing in one spot for a long time, and around those final prints, in a wide circle, handprints, too many to count, pressed into the snow, all facing inward, toward where the hunter had been standing. Some were the size of human hands, some were much larger, some were impossibly long, with fingers that stretched nearly a foot. The handprints didn't have tracks connecting them. They were just there, pressed into the snow, from above, like something had reached down. Anne photographed everything. Her team photographed everything. The hunter was found the next day, 2 miles north, alive, sitting in a creek bed, barefoot, catatonic. He'd lost 23 pounds in 36 hours. When he finally spoke, 3 days later in the hospital, he said one sentence: "It was so hungry, and it chose me." Anne submitted her photos with the report. 37 images, barefoot tracks, stride measurements, handprints. Her team leader reviewed the report. Remove the photos. Remove the stride measurements. Remove the handprints. Anne asked why. Because the official finding is disorientation due to cold exposure. Photos of 20-foot stride patterns don't support that finding. Anne removed them from the official report. She kept copies. She told me, "I've searched for people in blizzards, in floods, in places no human should survive. I've seen people do strange things under stress." She paused. "But a man doesn't take 20-foot barefoot steps in 12-degree snow. A man doesn't lose 23 pounds in 36 hours, and handprints don't appear in a circle from above." She looked at me. Something picked him up. Something carried him. Something held him. And something put him back. And we were told to write cold exposure. Anne doesn't volunteer for SAR anymore. She still has the photos on a hard drive. 37 images. No one has ever asked to see them. I responded to 9 calls in 12 years. All hunters. All November or December. All within 30 miles of each other. Every report I wrote was rewritten by someone above me. This story comes from a retired sheriff's deputy named Frank, 62. worked in a rural county in northern Minnesota for 27 years, retired in 2023. Frank wasn't a conspiracy thinker. He was a cop, practical, by the book. He wrote reports based on evidence and let the evidence speak. But the evidence kept saying things no one wanted to hear. His first call was in 2011. A hunter's wife reported her husband missing. He'd gone out at dawn. Didn't come back. Frank led the response, found the hunter's truck at a logging road, found his gear scattered over a 50-yard area. Not thrown, placed, each item separated by exactly the same distance. Rifle here, pack there, vest there, compass there, gloves there, all in a straight line, 10 feet apart, pointing north. Like someone was leaving a trail, using the hunter's belongings as markers. They found the hunter the next day, walking on a county road, 5 miles from his truck. No coat, no boots. Couldn't explain where he'd been. Frank wrote the report, included the gear placement, included the equal distances, included the direction. His sergeant read it, rewrote it. Hunter became disoriented. Gear was scattered during confusion. Frank let it go. Then it happened again. 2013. Different hunter, different location, same county, same pattern. Gear placed in a line, equal distances, pointing north. And again in 2014, and 2016, and 2017, and 2018, and 2019, and 2021, and 2022. 9 cases, 12 years, all November or December, all solo hunters, all within a 30-mile radius, every single one, gear placed in a line, pointing north, equal distances, every single one. Hunter found alive, disoriented, unable to account for missing time, significant weight loss. And every single report Frank wrote was rewritten. Disorientation, exposure, no foul play. In 2022, Frank did something he'd never done before. He laid all 9 cases on a map, plotted the gear lines, extended them north. Every line converged on the same point, a location deep in the Superior National Forest. No trails, no roads, no structures, just forest, and one unnamed lake. Frank drove out there alone in daylight, December. He found the lake, small, frozen, surrounded by birch and pine, and on the shore, arranged in a semicircle facing the water, personal items, a watch, a wedding ring, a pocket knife, a compass, a lighter, a hat, boots, a wallet, 9 items, 1 from each case. There were no animal tracks around the items, not a single one. In the middle of winter, in the middle of the forest, nothing had come near them. The items Frank had listed as not recovered in his original reports, the items that were missing from each hunter, all here, arranged, displayed, like offerings, left at the edge of the water. Frank didn't touch anything. He took photos, drove back. He showed the photos to his sheriff. The sheriff looked at them for a long time. Then he looked at Frank. "How far from retirement are you?" 8 months. "Take them early. Full benefits. I'll make the call today." Frank asked about the items, about the lake, about the 9 hunters. His sheriff shook his head. "Some things in this county are older than the county, older than the state, and they don't stop because we write reports about them." He paused. "The best thing you can do is leave, and the best thing I can do is make sure no one else finds that lake." Frank retired that week. He told me, 9 cases, same pattern, same direction, all pointing to the same place, and when I found that place, I found proof. He paused, and the response wasn't, "Let's investigate." The response was, "Let's make sure no one else looks." Frank keeps his photos in a safe. His original reports and the ones that were rewritten are in there too. He's waiting. For what, he's not sure. But he knows that Lake is still there, and every November the gear lines keep pointing north. I found biological material on a recovered hunter's clothing. It didn't match any species in the database. My supervisor told me to destroy the sample. I didn't. This story comes from a wildlife biologist who asked to remain completely anonymous. I'll call her Dr. Lynn. Late 40s. Worked for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for 15 years. Currently on leave. Dr. Lynn's job was mundane. Wildlife surveys, population counts, habitat assessments. She spent most of her time in the field, counting deer, tracking wolves, monitoring bird migration. In 2023, she was asked to assist with an unusual request from a county sheriff's office. A hunter had been found after a 3-day disappearance in the Superior National Forest. Standard recovery, standard report. But the hunter's clothing had biological residue on it. Dark, viscous. The sheriff's office assumed it was animal blood and wanted it identified for their report. Dr. Lynn took the samples back to her lab. She ran the standard tests. Not deer blood, not bear, not wolf, not moose, not any cervid or predator native to Minnesota. She ran expanded tests, not human, not any known primate. She ran DNA extraction. The results came back malformed, partially degraded, but enough to analyze. The DNA didn't match any species in the National Center for Biotechnology Information Database, not closely, not distantly, not at all. It shared structural markers with mammals, but the sequences were arranged in patterns she'd never seen, like something that had diverged from known evolutionary lines so long ago that the connection was barely recognizable. Dr. Lynn wrote her report, included the test results, included the anomalies, flagged it for further study. Her supervisor read the report. "The sample is contaminated. Your equipment malfunctioned. Destroy the sample and refile the report as inconclusive sample degradation." Dr. Lynn pushed back. The sample wasn't contaminated. Her equipment was calibrated. She'd run the tests 3 times. Her supervisor leaned forward. "I'm not asking you to question your results. I'm asking you to understand what happens if those results leave this office." He paused. "A new species means federal review. Federal review means media. Media means every hunter in Minnesota asks what's living in those woods. And then the hunting industry, which generates $3 billion a year in this state, collapses." He sat back. "Your results are accurate. I believe you. But accurate and useful are 2 different things." Dr. Lynn didn't destroy the sample. She stored it privately, against protocol, against direct orders. She told me, "I've worked with wildlife for 15 years. I've identified every species in this region. I know what lives in these forests." She paused. "This doesn't live in these forests. Not officially, but it's here. It leaves traces. It leaves residue on the people it takes and returns. And when someone finds that residue and tests it, they're told to look away." I asked her what she thought the sample was from. She was quiet for a long time. "Whatever it is, it's old, very old. The genetic drift in those sequences suggests a lineage that separated from known mammals thousands of years ago, maybe longer." She paused. "It's been in these woods since before we started counting what lives here, and it will be here long after we stop." I asked her about the pattern, the migration, Wisconsin, Minnesota, the 2-week window. She looked at me carefully. "You've been tracking this." I told her I had. "Then you already know this isn't one state, this isn't one forest, this is something that moves. And it's been moving for a long time." She paused. "I can prove it exists. I have the sample, I have the data. But proof and action are two different things. No one with the authority to investigate wants to investigate, because the answer would change everything. Dr. Lin is still on leave. The sample is still in her possession. The report was refiled as inconclusive. And every November, she checks the recovery reports from northern Minnesota, looking for more residue, more traces, more proof that something ancient and unnamed walks through those forests when the snow falls. She has 3 more samples now, from 3 different hunters, 3 different years, all identical, all unmatched, all from something that doesn't exist.